Today, we are going to briefly recap a movie called John Carter. The movie begins on Mars, where we see the red city of Zodanga slowly consuming its environment. Only the blue city of Helium has the capacity to prevent Zodanga's ongoing destruction of Mars. One day, the ruler of Zodanga, General Than, was successfully ambushed by numerous blue flyers. But just before his imminent defeat, blue lightning struck and consumed all the blue flyer forces. After their destruction, 3 immortal beings called Therns presented themselves before General Than. They gave him a mighty weapon, on the condition he acts upon all their wishes. Should he do so, they promise him he will rule all of Mars. In New York City, 1881, a man by the name of John Carter eludes another while walking along the city's crowded streets. Carter manages to slip into a telegraph office to send an urgent message to his nephew Ned, with instructions to visit him at once. Weeks later, Ned is greeted at the train station by Carter's butler, who shares some bad news. Once at John Carter's estate, Carter's attorney tells Ned of Carter's passing. As Ned and the lawyer walk to the study, Ned is in awe of all of what he sees. Carter's attorney seemed to think Carter was always in search of something elusive. As Ned wished to pay his respects, the only thing the lawyer could show him was a mausoleum, which only can be opened from the inside. As they convene in the study, the lawyer goes over Carter's will with Ned. He explains that the estate will be held in trust for the next 25 years, after which everything will be handed over to Ned in full. He was then given Carter's private journal, which only Ned could read. No one else under any circumstances was allowed to read it. After the lawyer wishes him well, Ned begins to read the journal. John Carter begins his story 13 years ago in Arizona. During that time, he was a gold prospector. As he was in the town's general store for supplies, soldiers arrived ordering him to see their colonel up at the fort. As Carter was unwilling to do so, they had to knock him out. In jail, Carter was told by Colonel Powell he was being recruited back into the cavalry to help fight against the Apache. In response, Carter breaks out of jail later that afternoon with the cavalry in close pursuit. During the chase, they manage to bump into an Apache scouting party. A gunfight ensues, resulting in the now injured colonel and Carter fleeing towards a distant canyon. Carter ditches their horse and tries to hide within the canyon walls. As the Apache closed in on them, the Apache suddenly stopped and ran away. Carter steps out to try and find out why. Looking up, he sees a symbol carved into the rock above a cave. Out of curiosity, he wanders inside the cave. Once inside, he discovers it full of gold. But Carter startles something lurking in the cave's shadows and attacks Carter. Carter was able to successfully defend himself, after which he then noticed a blue lit device and attempts to pick it up. In doing so, the blue light consumes him, and in a flash, Carter reawakens in a place outside of the cave. He stands up for a better look around. As he takes a step forward, he trips over himself. He tries several times to walk, but each attempt ends with the same result. Finally, Carter discovers hopping to be the best means in which to move forward. Unfortunately, in doing so, he leaves the blue amulet behind. Carter's efforts lead him to an outcropping of rock, where at its summit, Carter discovers a rooftop of some sort. Peering in, he sees eggs hatching green, 4-armed creatures, and he wonders where the hell is he. Suddenly, someone picks up the amulet, which Carter unknowingly lost. Carter then notices a band of riders approaching. Suddenly behind him, a spear is thrown. After seeing Carter jump so high, the spear-throwing green creature called a Thark is intrigued. As a result, he orders the approaching riders to stop shooting at Carter, and then sends them away. The green Thark tries to communicate with Carter, introducing himself as Tarkas, while Carter mistakenly introduces himself as Virginia. After Carter jumps for the weapons which Tarkas dropped earlier, a distant rider shoots him with a tranquilizer. Meanwhile, at the royal palace of Helium, Dejah Thoris is practicing a speech. She is a princess and daughter to the Jeddak of Helium named Tardos. Tardos suddenly bursts into Dejah's chamber. He is concerned their war with Prince Sab, Than of Zodanga, is not going well, as he has found a weapon which cannot be defeated. Dejah interrupts him by unveiling a device she has invented, which displays a weak blue ray. She claims that this is the source of Prince Sab's power. As she demonstrates the device, her efforts are sabotaged by a spy. After the device short-circuits, Tardos asks to be left alone with her. He explains to Dejah that Prince Sab Than wishes a truce to their ongoing war by means of marriage to her. Dejah is both shocked and upset at the suggestion she marry their enemy. Tardos screams at her that there is no other way in which to save Helium from Sabthan's onslaught. As Tardos prepares for the wedding, the spy transforms into a being called a Thurn. He informs his superior, named Matai Shang, that Dejah's blue beam had been sabotaged successfully, as she was on the verge of discovering its power. Meanwhile, Carter, now bound, arrives at the city in which Tarkas rules. Upon being released, Carter is given to a female Thark by the name of Sola. She cuts him free at the same time Carter sees his amulet. Carter jumps for it, only to be recaptured once again. Now chained to a wall, Carter continues to seek an escape. Unfortunately, he now has a guard dog, named Woola, to contend with. No matter how far Carter jumps, Woola is able to keep by his side. Carter jumps towards a tall tower for a better view of his surroundings. He sees his amulet is still with Tarkas. As Woola followed Carter, the animal is beaten by the crowd as it barged in. Carter jumps down to stop the beating and punches the nearest Thark. With one punch, Carter kills him. A brawl ensues, which Tarkas immediately breaks up while asking who is to blame for Carter's escape. As Carter was Sola's responsibility, she was punished by being branded for allowing his escape. Tarkas warns Sola she has no more room on her back for another branding, and the next one will result in her demise. As Tarkas was about to inflict Carter's punishment, a sentry yells that flyers were inbound. Everyone runs for cover. The Tharks watch as a group of 3 red flyers converge onto a lone blue flyer. The blue flyer is boarded and searched for Princess Dejah Thoris. Attempting to escape, the princess is knocked off the ship and dangles over its side. Carter, seeing this, jumps to her rescue and catches her just as her grip slipped. After the Tharks, with the help of Carter, successfully repel General Than's red flyers, Carter accepts Tarkas' offer to let him keep his white-aped woman if he agrees to fight for the Tharks. Later that evening, both Carter and Dejah have a chance to get to know one another. During this time, Dejah questions where Carter might be from, as she has never seen anyone jump like him. Between the two of them, they determine he is from Earth, while they are currently standing on Mars. Showing the amulet to Dejah, it is deduced that Carter could have arrived on Mars as a result of the Therns. This is confirmed in a nearby cave which has the same amulet carved on its walls. As the Tharks view this cave as sacred, Carter, Dejah, and Sola are rounded up for punishment. As Tarkas unleashes his anger onto Carter, Carter correctly deduces Sola is Tarkas' illegitimate daughter. In response, Tarkas secures the 3 in a tent and secretly helps them escape. He gives Carter the amulet on the condition he takes care and protects Sola. The 3 now journey to the River Is to solve the amulet's mystery. As the journey is long, both Carter and Dejah get to know one another a little better. After arriving at the River Is, the 3 hop onto a boat to continue their journey, leaving Woola behind. A few hours later, they are greeted by a massive structure. Carter grabs Dejah and jumps to its top, after which they notice the ground changing color beneath Carter's feet. This opens an entrance, leading them to a giant room inside. Dejah asks for the amulet and places it on the ground. The amulet illuminates the room, displaying a diagram of the solar system. Both Dejah and Carter try to decipher the symbols found within the diagram. Princess Dejah explains the only way to decipher their meaning lays within her library back at Helium. She also tells Carter she feels he has the capacity within him to fight for a good cause. This draws him into a kiss. Suddenly they hear the screams of Sola out in the distance. Once back outside, they see a horde of Tharks gathering along the opposing cliffside. The 3 now race for a quick exit. As they do, a Thurn tells the Tharks' new leader to capture them alive, while testing what Carter is capable of. Now on land, the chase continues across the desert. As Carter can see they were losing ground, he dismounts to face the horde alone. Carter is relentless against the oncoming Thark attack. From high above, a blue flyer approaches and breaks the fight up. The Tharks race in retreat. After the flyer lands, Dejah's father exits the ship. Unbelievably, they find Carter still alive. Dejah explains to her father that Carter saved her life, and that he is from Earth. Without warning, General Than exits her father's flyer. After Dejah tries to kill him, her father explains that the general came alone and in peace, hoping to further the prospects of marriage. The general pleads his case before Princess Dejah, offering his weapon to her as a gestured token of his commitment. The general explains, through their marriage, both of their kingdoms will benefit immensely. Dejah releases her weapon as she seems to acknowledge this. Carter awakens within the Red City of Zodanga, realizing that he is now washed and dressed. The front door suddenly opens, and in walks Kantos Khan, who is Princess Dejah's bodyguard. He forces Carter to take him hostage, and they escape to the rooftop. He tells Carter they must jump to a distant building. As Red Guardsmen encircle them, they make the jump, landing in Princess Dejah's dressing chambers. Dejah orders everyone to leave, as she wishes to be alone with Carter. Dejah asks Carter one last time if he is willing to fight for helium. But before he answers, she gives him his amulet, along with the spoken codes required to get him back home. As she waits for his answer, the chamber door is suddenly thrown open. When she turns back to Carter, she sees that he is gone. Thinking Carter is now back on Earth, Dejah leaves with General Than for their wedding. Upon their departure, it is apparent Carter did not use the amulet to return home. As he leaves Dejah's chambers, one of the servants paralyzes him with a blue shock. The servant is the Thurn leader named Matai Shang. With Carter under his control, Matai Shang explains to Carter who he is. He is part of an ancient race whose sole purpose is to control the destiny of all the planets within the solar system. As Carter and Matai Shang walk the streets, Shang automatically shapeshifts into what best fits their surroundings. As they view the wedding procession moving through the streets, Matai Shang explains that all who know of the amulet's existence will be killed after vows are exchanged. While Carter is being prepared for transport, Woola appears out from nowhere, biting the arm of Matai Shang, which breaks the lock over Carter. Carter takes back the amulet and escapes on a stolen flyer. Along the way, he picks up Solar and Woola. Unfortunately, the added weight forced them to crash land near Thark sentries. Now captured, Carter realizes the Tharks are no longer commanded by Tarkas and is imprisoned with him. Both are sent to the gladiator arena to die in front of all Tharks. There, they are challenged by a massive great white ape. Carter struggles to keep both himself and Tarkas alive. With great effort and a little luck, Carter manages to kill 2 of the great white apes. Carter challenges the Tharks leader for his authority. The quick fight results in the loss of the leader's head. As the Tharks' new leader, Carter tells them they must march against the Red City of Zodanga. The Tharks, with their newfound leader, ride at full stride to get to the Red City. As they break down the city's gates, they discover the city undefended. Much to Tarkas' dismay, they have arrived at the wrong city, as the wedding is being held at Helium. Because Tharks do not fly, Carter flies alone to rescue both Princess Dejah and her city of Helium. Meanwhile, back at Helium, the wedding ceremony is well on its way. Both bride and groom are raised to the altar. As oaths were being exchanged, Carter breaks into the ceremony, much to Princess Dejah's delight. A massive battle ensues between the armies of Helium and Zodanda. As Carter and General Than fight each other, the Tharks, unexpectedly, arrive in flyers to help defeat the Red Army of Zodanda. Once defeated and General Than dead, Carter asks Dejah for her hand in marriage. She accepts. Dejah's father conducts the ceremony with an abundance of cheers at the end. Now married, Carter decides to throw the amulet away, for he no longer has any desire to return to Earth. Returning to his bed with Dejah, Carter is surprised by Matai Shang, who sends him back to Earth. Carter awakens back on Earth within the same cave which he left from. Looking up to Mars, Carter begins to make plans for his return back to Mars and his newfound wife. Using the gold from the cave, Carter builds a massive fortune to help search for other possible amulets on Earth. But in the end, he decides to lure any watchful Therns into a trap. By faking his own death and using Ned as bait, Carter kills a Thurn for its amulet. Carter tells Ned he must keep his body safe from harm, else it will affect his copy on Mars. With Ned agreeing to this task, Carter lays down on a bed within his mausoleum. With the amulet resting on his chest, he teleports a copy of himself back to his wife, who waits for him on Mars.